This is going to get cut. That sucks.
Anyway, Marcus, what show is this?
This is Let Me Pitch This to You. It's an idea podcast where me and my good friend Ian retreat to our millennial safe space to share our creative endeavor that we came up with that particular week.
Yep.
And then sort of post it on the internet because we have too much social anxiety to actually talk to other real humans about it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, okay, hold on just 1 second. I am in the process of trying to get my keys out of my car because I did lock my keys in my car. Ian. Gosh, what the heck? First your impact wrench, now this?
I'm the guy who invented the thing that's gonna take us out of this place. If you could read my mind, you would know what kind of pajamas I want when it comes to bedtime. Footy, 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 footy pajamas. Footy, 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 footy pajamas. Footy, 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 footy pajamas that let me be what I want to be.
Have a discussion about your heroin addiction.
Okay.
This is an intervention. Unfortunately and sadly, we are recording it because literally the only other person who cares about the two of us is Matt. But he doesn't actually want to spend face-to-face time with us for obvious reasons. He has kids and you're a heroin addict.
No, I deny it! I'm sorry, I'm a terrible actor.
I can't think of anything good. I promised you an intro bit and then you're like, okay, do you have one? I lied. I was like, yeah, I got one. I didn't have anything.
I've done that before. I've literally, you have asked me if I've had an intro before, and I've lied. And I've
like, yeah, for sure. I'll crush it, killing it.
Not that we should be making jokes about heroin. Kids, don't not do drugs.
Don't not do drugs.
I need finger guns.
Oh, frick.
Suck it. I did it again. Burn, roasted. I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
I don't think you understand anything about
I don't understand anything about anything, dude.
Anything.
That's why I freaking podcast.
M-Cube. So Matt posted this on the last episode. It was a good one. I thought, I wasn't a huge fan of my idea. I thought it kind of sucked. But here we go. He said, oh, frick, I did have an intro that I thought of. We do have to record the intro. Actually.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Okay. The Lion Prince idea seems pretty good. Someone should make that. It was a good joke because I think you pitched originally Lion King, right?
Yep.
And then you pitched Beauty and the Beast. So.
No.
So then he wrote.
Wait. Explain to me how the beginning of my pitch you thought it was Beauty and the Beast. When first of all it was a guy who had a son, not a daughter. He was a clockmaker, slash inventor, not an artist like the guy is in Beauty and the Beast.
The guy's not an artist in Beauty and the Beast, idiot.
Well, I guess he's some kind of inventor, but like he does like weird, wacky stuff. Whereas this guy's a clockmaker. Like I don't see
a clockmaker who makes toys and inventions. Also, it's 2018. I'm not being discriminative.
Okay. All right. Okay, go ahead.
Ian's pitch, the basic premise. Sorry. Frick, Matt, you gotta use smaller words, man. Especially if I'm gonna be the person reading
this. This kid was homeschooled, remember?
The basic premise is a good, solid character arc for the guy, heartwarming in a Nicholas Sparks movie kind of way. But for my money, you need to put some meat on that sandwich.
Nice analogy, Matt. Nice analogy.
That's pretty good.
But I will agree with Matt there. That was kind of like for this episode and the episode before, last episode, 2 episodes ago, like I really thought that, like I sat down and I wrote down my idea and I thought it out. Sometimes I don't do that. I didn't do that on the last one.
Matt, actually,
so that does make a difference, like to really, anyway.
Sorry, I was reading ahead Matt's mind, Matt's comment, and I don't remember. I remember thinking this at least in the process of coming up with my last idea. I don't remember if I talked about it, but I was like, yeah, that's wicked. Okay. He then writes like a paragraph about mine because it was better, I think.
That's fair. All right.
Okay, Marcus's pitch. Side note: I spent like 5 minutes researching to find out the grammar rules for apostrophe usage on possessive nouns ending in s. Okay, he said a very cool idea.
When did you use that?
I think tongues, silver tongues, with apostrophe S or not apostrophe S, I think.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe I
Matt,
made,
the fact that you thought of that,
or maybe I made a joke or not. I
and
don't know.
decided to research that is, I don't know if I want to say if it's awesome or just weird.
Okay, well, I'm gonna Matt.
Either way,
thanks for being the one person who's a big
way
fan
to
of our
go,
show.
Matt.
I'm sorry that Ian's bullying you on the internet.
All right.
There's a lot of ideas.
Excuse me.
I hate you. There are
That was not
a
I did
lot
not
of
mean-
ideas like here, manipulative characters / con men. Frick, I lost my place. Are always interesting. Plus, you have the ancient knowledge being applied in the modern world, and the whole getting into deep thing. Some of the some of the remaining bit of the movie, the game, which you should probably totally watch, by the way. Your basic plot, the kind of follows Batman Begins to an extent. Smart guy drops off the face of the earth for a while, trains with shadowy figures. That's actually totally right. Abandons them and uses their techniques to fight back against them.
Yeah, I did not think of that until
I did.
Matt. Yeah.
Definitely fair though. All good stuff, and I like the idea you're batting around here with responsibility and morality. The one problem some of these kinds of movies / books have, and you mentioned, I did mention it, sorry, is that it's hard to write intelligent / charismatic people because you actually have to come up with super intelligent / charismatic dialogue, which is totally fair, and I could make it. I think it'd be really, I'd love to read that. I couldn't do it or watch it. I don't like to read because I'm stupid.
Yeah.
Because you actually came up with the super intelligent / charismatic dialogue, one advantage you have over your characters is time. You can take days to come up with one-liners, and they seemingly come up with on the spot. All in all, good episode, interesting ideas. Happy to see my segment return, and I'd totally be up for being on another show again sometime. We should definitely get Matt on super soon.
I was thinking we could even do a Skype call. Sometime.
That's lame.
I
He
think
needs to come and
okay.
realize how awkward and dumb our process is.
All right.
To be honest, I think that's the only way.
That's fair. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of nervous because when we had Mac on the show, I got super nervous on the show just having another person there.
Just having another human.
It was terrible.
The social anxiety through the
I had
roof.
this great pitch, and it was just like yeah, and this, and then that, and it was
Bye.
garbage. But no, that was a good bit Matt wrote. Real quick, if you guys don't like listening to Marcus read or I read Matt's Majestic Mind, you can go onto our Facebook page, like it if you so desire.
Or just go there and read Matt's
Just
thing.
go there and you can read Matt's thing. You don't even have to watch the episode. Just read what he says.
Yeah, then it's not as clunky and choppy, and you can read
For
it.
sure. I feel like Matt could start a blog about our show, and it would be more successful than our show.
That's fair. I'm more sometimes I make a pitch and I'm like, oh, that kind of sucked, and then I'm more interested to hear about what Matt has to say about my idea.
Dude, that'd be a good idea. Like to have Matt keep a blog called Matt's Majestic Mind about our show.
What about this idea, Matt? Hang out with your kids and be a good father and husband, and spend as little time worried about our stupid internet project.
That's fair. Unless we make millions of dollars eventually, and then we'll bring Matt on as a.
We'll just give him money. Actually,
Yeah.
we'll be like, here, take it.
Write a bit for our show every week, and we'll give you.
You don't even have to do that. You
10
can
10
quit.
G's a month.
You can quit. We'll just start giving you money. I don't care.
That was good.
Let's get into this week's
Yeah, let's get
episode
into
though.
the show. Marcus, so we're doing something a little different. You want to explain?
Yeah, so Matt on the previous episode suggested in his Majestic Mind that we share the idea of kind of sharing our notes for a pitch ahead of time to have sort of ideas so we can pre-think about what's going on and everything. So when we get to the end, if Ian didn't really think of any good questions to ask, he has more time to think of good questions to ask. That way it's not like really awkward and clunky transition to just, oh, I have nothing to say about that. Okay, next bit, I guess. We're attempting that. We'll see how it goes. And again, we'll probably try for a few episodes, because introducing anything new to our show, especially when you're not great at this, is going to be clunky the first time.
For sure.
But we will see. My pitch is essentially the show Supernatural, if Supernatural was what we call good television.
Okay. Now, what do you mean by good television? Because a lot of people do like Supernatural. Like,
And they're wrong, because it's a trash show for babies. So
like, I haven't watched a lot of it. I've only seen a couple episodes.
I've seen over half of the first season, and here's my problem with Supernatural. And I've seen a lot of people also criticize them on this. And it is that it is a monster of the week where essentially these two attractive boys... And okay, so like as far as just like that goes, there's like better looking people on the CW. I don't know why people always talk about how attractive those two characters are. Like, watch Arrow. You Stephen Amell? A good looking guy. Anyway, we're two attractive guys roll into a new town with some Wendigo or some crap, flirt with some girl, potentially hook up, beat the Wendigo, leave that town, and go essentially do the same thing with a different monster the next week.
Yeah.
And then there's sometimes kind of sort of an underarching plot that they sometimes figure out stuff to, end in the season finale, to then just go do the same thing the next season.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not super into it, and I have friends who are.
I think people get into it because it's more like the charisma of it, if that's the right word, but like, you know, they want to go see a couple of guys beat up monsters or whatever, and, you know, I don't know. Like, I think people more get into the idea of it than the actual story.
Which is fair enough. However, there are really cool things that I'm told. I haven't looked into it a lot, but I'm told that like they eventually do like really cool stuff like angels and demons and like the lore behind that. They touch on that in later seasons. But my thing is like if that's like the coolest thing you have to talk about, and then I have to watch like 4 seasons of a show that I think is not great to get to like these 4 episodes of cool stuff, like I don't think that's a good TV show.
Okay.
So here's my idea, essentially. A show very Supernatural-esque, except good. No, I'm kidding. So it would be, well, I mean, I'm not kidding, but it'd be like, let's say 25 episodes.
Okay.
For 1 season. However, 5 different arcs. So each arc would be 5 episodes long, and completely different from the previous arc, however, all existing in the same world using the same rules. So, for instance, think a spin-off. They're all spin-offs from each other. To where, let's say we have special rules regarding demons that we introduce and make up.
Okay.
Those rules carry over into every single show.
Now,
however, the characters and the timeline, or not the timeline, the time period and the pacing and the theme of each arc can be completely different and not even reference each other in any way, shape, or form.
Okay. Now, because here, when you wrote down your pitch, you said that there'd be like different worlds or whatever. And like
I'm getting into.
Okay, but they would still be under the same rules. Is that what you're saying?
No. So like, each show or arc in the show, even though they're dealing with completely different characters and a completely different place in the world, completely unrelated to each other, all the rules apply.
Okay. Now, is it the same characters in each arc? Okay, different characters.
Completely different characters, completely different, so, the first arc, which I shared some with, and we'll get into that in a little bit, is going to be like modern day. The next arc, medieval times.
Okay.
Then the next arc we're only going to come up with 3 arcs on the show, because it was actually pretty tough, and I thought it'd be a lot of fun to hash it out and talk, which is going to eat up a lot of time.
Yeah.
But, I think the idea of having, all the rules are consistent. So we say, this is how magic works in our world. Magic works like that in all of the arcs.
Okay.
However, they don't cross over in the sense that, the characters aren't going to meet or anything like that.
Okay. So they're, parallel universes within...
No.
One.
So I'll explain that in a second. So they're all in the same world, the same timeline, just different places in the world. So
okay.
Think Stranger Things, how 11 leaves, and then you got stuff going on in 2 different places.
Yeah.
And half of those characters that 11 meets in season 2, nobody of the other characters ever hear about or see.
Yeah, it's 2 completely different...
Completely different things.
Yeah.
Same world, same time. And this could be same world, same time, same world, different time, but all existing here.
Okay.
In the same world. As far as the realms go, so here's how the realms are going to work. There's a celestial realm, which is where gods reside in this world. Just really powerful beings which we can kind of talk about and have fun stuff to figure out or whatever. A hell-ish realm, a hellscape realm. Our realm, and then a realm of complete energy, which, much like, have you seen Doctor Strange?
No.
Okay, so in Doctor Strange...
I almost didn't want to admit that on air, but...
It's fine. In Doctor Strange, it's on Netflix. You should watch it, though.
Yeah,
it's really
I didn't
good.
mean to do that. I just had it.
Essentially, the way magic works in that world is they tap into other realities or universes or whatever, and use energy, and the process of bringing energy over from those worlds into this world reacts in bizarre, interesting ways, which create spells and things, which is why, like, a lot of it looks like sparks and stuff, like, when they're casting, because it's like you're breaking the rules of our world to do these things.
So now, wait a minute. So this world that's, like, made out of energy or
you
whatever,
can't go there.
Yeah, but you
you
said
could
that
die.
they have the same rules as our realm, even though
No.
it was meant. Because you said...
The different arcs have the same rules.
Okay, it sounded like what you're saying was, like, each arc was under the same rules.
Yeah, each arc is under the same rules. So each arc will have all 4 of these realms. Each arc will have... So if we say magic works like... So I said magic works like it does in Doctor Strange. Each arc, magic's always going to work like Doctor Strange.
So what I'm saying is, like, magic will work within this season, or within this arc, magic will work the same...
As it's in Arc 1, as it does in Arc 2, or Arc 3.
So in, like, the world of energy and our realm, the magic will work the same.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
No.
Okay.
No, so you don't go to this realm. Okay, so... There are 5 arcs that are all about the same world, essentially.
Okay.
A world of hunters, and monsters, and magic.
Mm-hmm.
And magic works where you essentially break the rules of our world to allow, by conduits or spell casting with words or whatever, to allow energy from the other world to cross over into this world that breaks reality and results in spell casting, so to speak. What I was saying is in Arc 1, and Arc 2, and Arc 3, and Arc 4, and Arc 5, magic is always going to work that way. And if we say, like, let's say in our world... Like in Twilight, vampires sparkle in the sunlight, that's going to be consistent. So it's just a continuity thing. Magic's always going to work the same. There's rules for magic, and I'll never break those rules. If we say this is how vampires work, vampires will always work that way in every single arc. If we say this, they'll always be like that way in every single arc. To where even though the arcs, to kind of show that they're in the same world, even if they're not same related. So like, the first arc, modern day. Second arc, it's going to be medieval times. But like,
So now wait a
choose
minute.
to go with the same type
So
of
one
monster.
season is going to be an arc.
No.
Because you're saying medieval times would then be like the next
arc, but they're 5-episode arcs.
Yeah.
So you have one
so
season, which is 25
episodes, and so there's 5 arcs.
There's 5 arcs in one season.
Okay.
Because they're 5-episode arcs. So that way it's a clear, concise story that you get in, you get out, you move on.
Okay, and like each world is a different arc, is that what you're saying?
Not world, no.
Like, because you said there's the celestial world.
Yeah, those are all realms that you can go to.
The different realms. Okay.
For the world that they live in.
Okay. Now this makes sense. I thought you were saying like each one.
No.
Okay. This makes sense now. Okay. So there's like. Okay.
Yeah, so like that's just like the way reality works
realms.
in
Okay.
the fantasy TV show world I'm creating.
Okay.
So, gods can be killed. And we're gonna make up some. I want there to be like some like special metal that you can get somewhere to kill gods in
because
this
then
world.
they're not mortals. The whole thing is if they're gods, immortals. That's what I'm saying.
Gods,
Okay.
fantasy gods.
Well, yeah, and even in fantasy gods or whatever, they're
Bullcrap. People kill gods in fantasy all the time.
I guess that's not. Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess that's true.
They don't die by natural means.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
Anyway, set up for the first arc because that was all like how some rules are going to work and stuff.
Let's dive into this.
Modern day in a small town in Wyoming. A small town is a small town in the sense that it's very secluded. It's like in the middle of nowhere, and I don't know anything about Wyoming.
Okay, so kind of like there's this show called Longmire, and it's in Wyoming. It's in this very small town. Longmire's the sheriff or whatever. I think it's Longmire. Yeah. And it's just this very small, kind of old-fashioned town. Kind of something like that. I don't know if you've seen that.
No, I'll get into it a little bit more.
Okay.
So, like, think super, like, kind of modern day.
Okay.
Like, there's, like, a Pizza Hut, there's a Taco Bell, a Walmart, all that kind of stuff. But, like, small in the sense that, like, it's so secluded that like everything kind of takes place around there, to where like it's not like super big like Chicago or anything. Like it's a decent sized town. Like there's some stuff to do, but like the kind of weird special thing is like all the people have like a really really strong appreciation for nature and stuff, to where like they go on walks and they'll like leave their phone at home, and they'll sit down and have face to face conversations. Like they won't be on their phone the whole time. Like it's just like a weird special thing that like because they've been so secluded, they're kind of raised knowing that. To where, like they it's not that they don't have smartphones or don't believe in technology. They believe in face to face conversations, and that's how the culture in this small town is, and it's so secluded from everywhere else. That's kind of how it works.
So like also like you had mentioned in here that it'd be like there wouldn't even really be like subdivisions of houses. Like,
Yes,
everything's very secluded by like trees and stuff.
Yes.
And then I immediately thought of like Pokemon. Would it be kind of very
They're like towns in Pokemon.
look like yeah, I guess there are towns.
So
but
like,
I thought of that in the sense that there's like like when you say nature, there's woods with creatures and stuff, and like
yeah, but like
people
not like
traveling, you know, like
not monster creatures though.
okay.
Per se. So like the weirdest thing about this town on the surface is the fact that everybody gets along really nice to each other. They're not on their phones all the time, even the teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that rather than subdivisions, there's essentially like think the Shire from Lord of the Rings,
Okay.
but like cabins instead of like holes and hills. So like there's like long paths that kind of go every direction around this like town center with all the stores and everything. And there's just cabins like scattered throughout the woods,
Yeah.
kind of all over the place, and that's where people live in this town.
It kind of makes me think of that town from Psych. I can't think of where they're like super against technology.
Oh, the Twin Peaks spoof?
Yeah. Is that the one? Yeah, where they're like the gal gets murdered or whatever, but they're all super like again.
Weird.
It's not that they're against technology. I mean, they're also weird in a different sense. We won't get into all that, but just kind of against technology. So I see what you're saying. I
Yeah.
can't mind that. Okay.
Yeah, so like it's just like it's really charming. It's very different. So I guess kind of very much like Twin Peaks if you've seen the show. Like really different people. Like you would go there and feel awkward and out of place. Like everybody there in the town clearly likes each other and is weird and off-putting, but really cool and interesting and neat as people.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, but since everything's so scattered out and nothing bad seemingly happens,
Yeah.
people start to disappear because of a monster. Now,
like is this gonna be kind of like Stranger Things thing where like people disappear and there's this monster coming out? Is it gonna be kind of like that or no? Like I'm just curious. That's the first thing I think of because that's the most
it
recent
can be.
monster story.
Here's
Anyway,
the two things I want us to do though. For this particular arc, we need to come up with characters. We need to come up with what the monster is.
So now, also really quick, for this arc, so they're in this town, but they can go within this town. Are they're the different realms, or how's that working?
What were you saying again?
So you have the different realms or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Within this town, like, do they still go to those other realms or what?
They don't. Okay, also, I made rules about that actually. I don't know if I sent those to you.
Okay.
Hold on, I need to talk about that. I just realized that I hadn't. The way so you can go to the what was it, energy realm, but you'll just die because there's energy there. So like you'll go and you'll die.
Yeah.
Like you can't survive there. It's not sustainable for life. The other three realms, I guess, there's our realm, you can be born there, and then there's Celestial and the Hellscape. There are doorways. So think like Stonehenge-esque things.
So this town, is this in our realm then?
Yes.
Okay.
There are Stonehenge-esque things in the woods. So like not as big as Stonehenge, but kind of like rocks like shaped like that. And then there are different like sacrifices of animals or things that you can perform in front of these things that will then open a doorway that you can then go through, and depending on what you sacrificed, will take you to the respective realm.
Okay.
Then there are like other things, as far as like magic casting goes, that like the rocks that are kind of pre-placed in the worlds by who knows what are part of a certain like rock type that you find somewhere in the weird part of the world that you use those, and that's how you can kind of break reality to cast spells.
Okay.
So kind of like the wands of this world, or our fantasy world. So here's what I was thinking. Do we want to have a gate that is like open and kind of letting monsters from like a hellscape or something run in? Or do we want like a werewolf or a Bigfoot, or what monster do we want to have? And what...
What if...
Go ahead.
What if there is a gate that's open? But obviously someone had to have sacrificed something and opened it. So what if there's like... There... You know, and I don't know if you want to get into like having an overall plot or whatever, but...
There's an overall plot for those 5 episodes. But
Yeah,
those 5
so, like-
episodes won't affect...
So like, what if there is a villain, some guy who like sacrificed this thing? Like, hold on. So, there's these Stonehenge things. Are there multiple ones, I'm assuming?
Yeah, and
So
these
just
are all throughout the world and have been here as long as we've known.
Yeah. So what if there's this villain opens up this doorway or whatever, and like leaves it open. So someone clearly opened it. And so like, and then even if they shut it, he would go open another one. And I don't really know where you go from there, but as far as I think maybe having like an overall villain who's like doing all this might be interesting. Unless you want it to be like it somehow accidentally opened. I guess that's my question. Like,
Ooh, okay.
do you want it to be like it came open by accident, or someone's purposely trying
Well,
to sabotage?
no, okay, so let's say this. Drunk teenagers driving through the woods, wreck, one of them starts to die, they wreck on the gate apparently.
Oh.
One of them's like bleeding out and dying, and the other one... Okay, so like, to just put it in like layman's terms to not take up too much time on like my pitch, for whatever reason, he has to leave, or he has to make a choice between saving his friend or saving something else, and he is selfish and chooses to save the other thing.
Like, what's the other thing then?
I don't know. Money, or just like, the car's on fire and he's gonna like burn his hands and he's a prodigy at music or something. We can figure that out later. That's not important. But he makes the choice to leave his friend to die in the car, which is selfish. And we can say that if you sacrifice something selfishly, that opens the gate to the hellscape realm.
The hellscape realm. Okay.
So all of a sudden, and I mean, the door can stay open for different periods of time, and we can figure out rules for that. Not ever, because this is a one-time pitch thing that we're not going to really revisit.
I mean, unless we were to write this down and actually make a book out of it or something.
Yeah, and like
which could happen if you guys gave us money. We'll get into that.
But a demon comes through, or
Okay.
something comes through, and now there's this town that like nothing ever really bad happens in it, for the most part. That all of a sudden has like a demon that's sort of at nighttime preying on people.
Okay.
Question:
Alright, shoot.
how many characters do we want to have? Main characters.
Okay. My original thought was 5, but then that seems too Scooby-Doo-esque. We'd have 5 characters and there's monsters and all that. I don't know. So maybe like 3.
Okay, 3 main characters.
3 main
Alright.
characters. 2 guys and a gal.
Okay.
Because
Names.
you have to have one girl. Okay, I'm just gonna explain what. Like, I feel like if you had 2 gals, it'd get too much of a like chick flick type of thing. If you have
Okay.
all 3 guys, it's gonna be too. You gotta have both. And I think 2 guys and a gal would be a good mix. You see that a lot. How about the gal's name is Joanne?
Joanne. All right. Ricky. One of the
Ricky.
dudes.
Okay. And Thomas.
Thomas. Okay. Joanne, Ricky, Thomas. All right. Personalities for them.
Again, I'm going back to like the whole Scooby-Doo-esque thing. I'm like, okay, well, like, we could have the girl be like,
Here's
So,
just a fun thing. You pick Joanne. Just pick a girl from any fiction or anything that you've ever read. Or you're like, she's pretty cool. I'm a fan of her character and personality.
oh man, See now I get put on the spot and I blank.
Okay, I'll go first. Have you seen? Think of a modern day Aragorn is Ricky.
Okay.
To where he is super tight, like just such a baller, sort of reluctant to take on all the responsibility because he's such like a nobleman that he's like, I don't feel like I should be responsible for this many people. So like we'll say he's the football quarterback, right? So he's got some like leadership skills, but he sort of is really humble about it, and he's like really cool, athletic, built, strong, and has like the character traits of Aragorn.
Okay.
Just name a character from anything. Who's a girl that you're a fan of?
Man, it's like I can't even think of any characters I'm a fan of because. I'm sorry. Shoot. Okay. Now I can't even think of her name.
Where's she from? Talk. Like, I mean,
From the shoot. It was a TV show that was on. You said you didn't like season 2. It's a Marvel character. Why can't I think of her name? Captain America's girlfriend.
Agent Carter.
Agent Carter. I thought the first season of that was really good.
The first season sucked. Season 2 was good.
It was a while ago. Anyway.
Season 2 was the good one. So if you're thinking of the really, really good season, you're thinking of season 2 because that was the really,
well, anyway,
really good
I was
one.
thinking of a couple episodes too. Where anyway, I just thought her character was very good, and so maybe like kind of have that personality, of better yet, because I'm kind of going with the whole like, being kind of like she's kind of tough and like, kind of tomboy-esque or whatever. I've been watching a lot of cartoons from my childhood, one of which is Kim Possible. So very much.
If you want to reach me.
But very much like that, in the sense like, you know, she can be like the preppy, pretty cheerleader girl, whatever, like on one half of her personality, but the other half of her personality, she can like, she'll go out and like, you know, they're going out to fight monsters, you know, she'll be the first one that jumps in to take a swing at the monster, type of thing, if you kind of get where I'm coming from.
Right.
Something kind of like that.
Yeah, I got you.
Alright.
Question for you. Do we have anybody on the team reluctant? Because we just named 2 hero types. Do we have any reluctant people on the team? Or do we have 3 hero types who are all kind of just down to go figure out what's going on and stop it?
Okay. If you have them all hero types, then it's going to turn into like a... I don't want it to get really cheesy to where like, you know...
I mean, here's the thing though. One of the best comic books to come out by... I guess actually most everything in Rebirth is pretty good right now. But the Trinity comic book was pretty good. And that's just Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman.
I haven't read that, but...
Pretty good. So I'm saying like 3 hero types can be done well.
Okay, so...
I'm not saying like that we shouldn't, I'm just asking.
Since we have these 2 athletic fighting people, whatever, Thomas, this last character, Ricky was the one you...
Yeah.
Yeah. Thomas, maybe, like, also a hero character, but needs to be kind of a nerd. Like, they need to have a tech person. I'm thinking of, from National Treasure, what's the guy's name?
Okay, so...
No. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Riley from National Treasure, yeah.
Very much like, just kind of this silly personality, but he's super smart. But no one really takes him seriously because he's just this nerd or whatever.
What about this, too? He kind of knows what's going on. Because like...
What if there's an ancient lore?
He's a fantasy fan.
Yes. What if there's like some kind of
like,
ancient lore that like... Not really anyone knows, but he knows because he's just in... Okay.
Like, so I don't like want it to be like he knows exactly what's going on. Like, oh, so there's a gate, obviously, like this kind of stuff. Or like, no, well, he does
like, he has these fan theories or whatever.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
fan
but
theories.
but he's such a fantasy fan, and this is such like a fantasy story or whatever,
Yeah.
and Monster Hunter story, that he's like, oh, okay, so like they see the demon for the first time. He's like, okay, so there's a gate of some kind.
What if, okay.
It's like, how else would a demon get into our world? There's a gate somewhere of some kind. What are the rules for the gate? Why are we just now getting a monster? So like he kind of very much sees through it as if it's like he realizes essentially that they're in a fantasy Monster Hunter story.
Yeah, like, and I can actually picture Riley's character saying stuff like this. But like, what if like you'd have scenes where, you know, Ricky or Joanne go to do something, like go to like hit the go to like what they would think of as like a practical thing to fight the monster, hit the monster, and the monster does something, I don't know, we could figure that, and Thomas was like, yeah, I saw that coming because of whatever issue 167 of Batman. Yeah, he's like, saw that coming. Of course you don't
Guys,
hit a monster.
You've never read a Spawn book? What the frick? We're dealing with demons. We're dealing with demons and you never read Spawn? What?
I think that'd be great. And it'd add a little humor.
It's like, yeah, like fun moments. And like, here's the thing though. And again, like, I don't want to solve this. So I just say they figure it out together.
Okay.
Along the way, they go solve this. Because we don't have a million years. And I think we could, for a long time, figure out beats and all this stuff.
This is fun. I like this idea.
So they solve it. Here's what I want to happen, though. So we'll jump to the second arc. I want to do the same thing, but it's a completely different time period. However, toned differently. Completely different tone. So the tone of this one can be kind of a whimsical, fun, sometimes quirky. So the next one can be very dour, very sad, all the way humor, all the way whatever, just not the same tone of the previous one. And then you just like, that way the show's not going to get stale.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Medieval times. I have some stuff written down about this.
And this is the second arc.
This is the second arc, yeah. So.
And they don't tie into each other at all, right?
They don't tie. So, let's say demons work the same way. So in this.
Yeah, everything works in the same arc, but it's different characters.
Different characters. So yeah, there's not going to be any crossovers. You're not going to.
Now season 2, is it going to have the characters same it's 5 arcs again, and it's going to be continuing of the.
Okay, maybe.
Maybe.
So like the idea of revisiting the characters or one of the arcs and a later arc and give them another 5 episodes is not out of the question. However, they're never going to cross over. So people from arc 1 are never going to meet people from arc 4 or anything like that.
Or even arc 2 or whatever.
Yeah, nothing like that's ever going to happen. However, revisiting these characters could happen potentially later on if there's a decent idea to it.
Okay.
Potentially in this fictional world where we're actually creating a TV show. Okay, so small town right outside of Camelot. So we're now introducing this kind of thing.
Okay. So this is fantasy medieval then.
Fantasy medieval, yeah.
Not just real life medieval where the world was basically the worst.
Yeah.
And, but it was more fantasy, fighting dragons and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Witches have sort of become rampant. There's a huge purge of anybody doing anything with magic right now throughout the land. That's the setup. That's all we got. It's just a small medieval town outside of Camelot. Anybody with magic or anything to do with that freaking being burned or murdered because, witches have kind of ran rampant and, there was a plague going on for a long time that were caused by witches. Again, we have to do the same 2 things. And we're only going to do 2 arcs because we've been talking about this for forever.
Yeah.
So we're only doing 2 arcs rather than 3 like I said originally. We have to come up with characters. What monster are they fighting?
Well, one character definitely has to be
Arthur.
a witch. Has to be a witch.
Okay. Okay, real quick. So, I know I'm kind of jumping ahead. There's, a werewolf or some crap, kind of, murdering a ton of people.
What if it is one of the characters? And he doesn't know he's a werewolf.
Okay, I mean, we could do that, but that's not what I was going to say.
Okay.
Arthur encounters the werewolf and can't beat it. Or, no, let's not say werewolf because, silver hurts werewolf, so we could just say,
His sword was made of silver.
yeah, or something like that. So, we'll say, we'll make up a monster or something, in a second. But,
Okay.
he can't beat it. And he then has to kind of realize that, maybe not all, because, kind of the whole, the few ruined it for the rest of us or whatever. So, he then realizes, okay, so maybe not all, witchcraft or magic or anything like that is bad inherently. Because he can't beat this monster. So he ends up having to recruit the help of a witch.
So,
like you said, so he has to find a witch
who's
going to help him so he can then use magic to kill the magical creature.
Yeah. So, why don't we have 3 characters plus Arthur?
Okay.
And one of those characters is a witch.
We have Arthur, so we need 2 more. We'll call her Mildred.
Mildred, okay. What if one character... Do we want them all to be human? Or since it's fantasy medieval, do we want one of them to be, a talking rat or something.
That could be. Hold on.
Like, what if the witch has
a talking rat? We're familiar as a talking rat who's very like.
Like Rufus from Kim Possible?
No, because he like talks like legitimate. Like he'll
Okay,
have
like
he'll
legitimate.
have legitimate, intelligent conversation with you. But it's just like her rat as a familiar. Okay.
Like, what if he's the genius? What if he's the tech? Like just like in the previous one, there's always like the genius.
Yeah,
he's the genius.
He's lived for a
like
long
wicked
time, so
smart.
he knows lots of stuff.
Yeah. Very much like very wise and smart, like Splinter from Teenage.
Gotcha.
From Turtles.
We'll tie it all in. It is Splinter.
No. Wise like that, but not as mature. Much more immature and just kind of like fun loving. Okay, so that's 2 characters, and then the third one.
I mean, we could just do some more freaking Camelot bullcrap and be like,
The third one's a dragon.
We do like
witch
Lancelot
rides a
or
dragon.
Merlin.
What?
We do a girl Merlin, and the witch isn't Mildred, the witch is Merlin, and that kind of like sparks, oh, so this is what changed his mind on all magic people, was this witch helped him,
Okay.
and he realized, so the witch is actually
So it's
Merlin.
Mildred, not Merlin, but it's essentially Merlin.
No, it's just Merlin. I'm saying not Mildred anymore.
But it's
'Cause that makes more
it's a
sense.
girl.
Yeah, well, it's a girl Merlin in this world.
Okay. And then
Gender bender. Have you seen anything like that?
no.
It's like an artist challenge a lot where they'll do so they'll just be like, oh, we'll draw Link, but that's a girl, or this character, but that's a guy. Like,
Yeah.
just like people do that sometimes.
Okay. So
Sorry.
we need a third character though.
Do we want to do somebody from Camelot lore?
I don't know.
Or do we want to have like it'd be like some rando from like a town?
Yeah, we could have. Oh man, that's hard to say. What if we had like a normal person? Because clearly, like this Merlin character, who's a wizard, warlock,
Witch.
whatever, witch. Well, yeah, because it's a girl. Sorry, a witch, and then a
We
talking
have
rat,
a talking rat, a king.
and then this king or whatever,
And just a peasant.
he's dealing with like magic and all this stuff, and he's new to it. So what if we had this normal person that just kind of like keeps him grounded to reality, keeps everything grounded to reality.
Yeah, he's like you're a high flung like you're like a high flung, super strong willed like king who's like very incapable of seeing things from multiple like perspectives. Like you're a witch who is kind of like magical and really too powerful for your own good, and maybe the king, you need to realize the king isn't all wrong, and like some magic shouldn't be played around with because like what the frick, you're a freaking talking rat who's lived for hundreds and hundreds of years, who knows all kinds of stupid bullcrap, and I'm just a guy who freaking, this giant monster's kind of ruining my town, could you please do something about that? Please, oh my gosh.
Now, do we want this peasant to be like a kid or an older
We'll say
man?
like early 20s.
How's he gonna
His town's the one getting...
How's he gonna have interaction with Arthur though? Because you gotta think in medieval times, peasants and kings didn't really interact. Like, is Arthur gonna have saved him or something, and then
Arthur's out slaughtering witches, and then in this nearby town.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this works, yeah. So this nearby town is getting attacked by whatever monster. We don't even have to talk about the monster; it doesn't matter. But Arthur's out on his freaking crusade through his own lands to just like murder anything to do with magic.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes and he kind of like, you're a high flung. So this is like kind of where like and Arthur, as much as he is sort of strong willed, is a man of the people. He wants his people to be happy. He is doing what he believes to be the right thing of killing these things that cause a plague to go through his kingdom.
Yeah.
So he sort of realized, he's like, hey, like, while you're out doing this and not realizing that, like, these people are people, and yeah, there are bad ones, but like anything, there's good ones, and there's good to be had for magic. He's like, while you're doing that, there's a freaking monster going through my town, like, destroying everything, and you're out here murdering potentially innocent people just trying to live life their way.
Okay.
So, he tries to fight the monster, and the monster just mops the floor with him.
Mm-hmm. And what if the peasant knows the witch, and
knows
that's how
of a witch? He knows
because he already knows
So he goes to Merlin. He doesn't know Merlin. He goes to Merlin saying like, "Hey, do your job as a king, protect your people, and don't massacre an idea and group of people because a few of them screwed up really bad. Like that's stupid. What the frick?" and he also knows of a good witch.
Yeah.
And
this
after
peasant does, and then this
yeah,
peasant
so
introduces
Merlin
to
gets
Arthur.
So Arthur gets just freaking beat the mess out of when he tries to fight the monster because like he can't hurt it because of magic or whatever. So the peasant then's like, well, oh my gosh, this is my king. Like, I know I talked back to him, but like he's still overall he's trying to do what is best, what he believes to be right. So he takes Arthur to a witch that he's heard, a good witch, like a good, kind-hearted witch that he's heard of in the woods for healing purposes because Arthur's just real screwed up, which happens to be Merlin.
Okay.
They team up, they sort of bicker back and forth, they have this back and forth, but eventually come to an agreement, help each other out, and that kind of sparks the Merlin-Arthur friendship that lasts. And they go fight the monster. And that's just our fun medieval Camelot story that takes place in this Monster Hunter story that we're also having.
Okay.
And I like the idea that, like...
So now if Merlin's going to be a chick, I
They're not gonna
I
hook
gotta
up.
ask the question.
They're not hooking
Can
up.
she be a really attractive...
I mean, yes, of course. But they're not.
No, not of course, not at all, because she's supposed to be a lot older than Arthur. But I'm
No,
saying,
they're the same age. They're the
Can
same
she
age, though.
be a very, very attractive woman?
Yeah. I mean...
I'm just kidding.
This is TV. This is TV. They're all... I'm sorry. They're not mention this.
They're all very attractive
I'm pitching
people.
this to the CW. They're all very good looking.
And that's all that matters. In the
Yeah,
entire,
that's the important thing. I'm pitching this. However, when I pitch this to CW, I'm not going to say, it's like your most popular show, Supernatural, but good.
Okay.
That's my whole idea, and like...
Cool. I'm a fan of it.
Like, I think it's fun.
I think playing around with these different realms, and like how there's these like Stonehenge type gates throughout the world, and like it shows like, okay, this is what happens in medieval times when one of these gets open. This is in modern day, and having these different realms. I think it'd be cool to do one during like a historical event, like World War I or World War II, or like Civil War, or some kind of historical event would be kind of fun.
And like that's the thing. I think you have like infinite idea. Like there's like so many like it'd be like, oh, this is different from the other one, so it'd be cool. Like what about one like mid New York, freaking like a monster, like there's a monster going on in the city, and like rather than a secluded area, because like that doesn't happen as much. Like anything, like there's so much like I think really cool fun to be had, and I like the idea that like all the continuity shared.
A monster's in New York, and it just happens to be, and this is season 2, arc 1, and it just so happens to be that the kids from season 1, arc 1, are on a field trip to New York.
Like, yeah, like that.
And that could be a way to reintroduce them if people want those characters back. And like you said, that's still up for debate if you'd want to revisit.
Well, I'm saying like if I think there's a good idea to be had that like those characters would fit well in, then yeah, go for it, guarantee. But I'm saying like don't do it because like not
just
like,
because you want to bring those characters back.
Yeah, it's not like oh well we have to then for season 2 the next 5 arcs are going to be the continuation story of X, Y, and Z. Like no, like if there's more story to tell.
I'm very much a fan of this because it reminds me of my very first pitch about the reincarnate superhero and how like I didn't want it to be the same person every time, and I wanted to kind of, if that kind of, and like throughout periods of time, it kind of very much reminds me of that. Only like much more fantasy based and not superhero based. So I'm even more so a fan of this. I think this would be really cool. And I think it'd be cool to like I could see people getting into it and like you're a fan of this realm and you know
like
these characters or this arc or whatever.
I think it would be very much a thing that like and like I think like to its benefit in a lot of ways, like much like that other TV show idea I pitched with all the aliens and the 5 different TV shows and stuff.
That's what I was thinking of too. Like you can,
like it'd be very much like that to where like you might hate arc 1 and arc 2 is so completely different while existing in the same world and having the same
like you could only watch arc 4
and love arc 4 and think the other arcs are dumb and don't like those, but arc 4 is so different from arcs 1, 2, 3, and 5 that you'd be like, oh, arc 4 is really good, and like so like you could kind of jump on any arc and only have 5 episodes to watch and say I really liked this or I don't really like this isn't the arc for me, jump off and come back a few episodes later to try out a new like, and like that way I think like it's sometimes hit or miss, but like you can get a very widely different audience and stuff and experiment with a lot of neat things without getting pigeonholed in certain ways and directions.
I'm very much a fan of this. This is cool.
Thank you. I like this one. I think I don't know. I think it's an interesting idea per se. let's jump into the commercial break.
Hey guys,
My small lightsaber. So,
welcome to the show. This is the commercial break.
So here's what I've been thinking about, Ian. Gosh dang it. How could I just give me and you money? Like,
I don't know. You know, it'd be really cool if there was like a website where you could just give money and you didn't even have to worry about.
Hold on. Ian, I have a pitch for you, real quick.
Alright.
Didn't mean to interrupt. Here's a pitch. We make a website where people can like take their creative endeavors and say, if you give me money, here's like some bonus content or like reward system for giving us money and supporting the show, but you also kind of get like a little something back that other people who don't support the show in that way get.
That's cool.
I think it sounds pretty interesting. What about this for a name for it? Patreon.
Patreon. Let's do it.
What's our Patreon name?
Our Patreon
Is it
is
just let me pitch this to you?
patreon.com/The Imagination Warehouse. You can go support this show as well as all our other content. And for just as little as $1 a month, you can get access to all our bloopers and pre-show stuff and weird stuff that we do that we'll start putting on Patreon for you. And
dumb things we do.
For I think it's either $5 or $10 a month. I think it's $5 actually. I reduced it down. You can be a special sponsor and you can do a Google Hangouts with us once a month, as well as well, you'll just have to read it. There's a few other things on there. So go check it out. Finger guns because Marcus hates it.
You're the worst.
You want to do an upside down dab?
No, we're not supposed to reference. We have to cut that. We're not referencing the fact that we're upside down.
Okay.
Frick.
All right. So yeah. Go check out our other content.
Check out Patreon. We have other content that Ian didn't get up because he's a busy boy. So
because I do all the work.
He does all the work, like paying for a house.
Yeah. But you can email us. Let me pitch this to you at gmail.com. That way, if you want to rant at me and say, "Hey, Ian, get it together." And Marcus, good job for being awesome, having awesome podcast etiquette.
I'm very good at podcast etiquette. My idea is just better than yours all the time, so I have to talk over you. I'm sorry. I'm not actually sorry about it, to be
Fair
honest.
enough. Ready? 1, 2. Hey, what's up, everybody?
Those characters from the commercial break, those guys, they're the worst. I hate them.
So,
what's your idea? Talk to me
my
about
idea.
your fun idea.
First off, the first couple pages of that Turtles comic book
Yeah.
kind of inspired it. Issue 47, so go read that if you want to.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. I'm not just blowing up Ian and reading a comic book while he's talking. This is relevant to his
I
pitch,
told him to
so
do
I'm looking
that.
through it. Yeah. Ian's talking. Screw that.
So, picture opening scene is in a bar, and picture kind of a middle-aged guy drinking alone, kind of half-wasted, and two kind of neatly dressed guys come over to him, and they start talking to him. They kind of bicker a little bit, and he kind of flips them off, tells them to go away. Picture very much from that X-Men episode. I can't think of what movie, but where
It says a future past, and
Is that
you're
what it is?
thinking of
Professor X.
You said the wrong
and-
characters, but it's Professor X and Beast and Wolverine.
No, because Professor X, they're referencing back to when Professor X and Magneto were actually friends, and they were putting together the whole X-Men.
Then I haven't seen it. There's another scene that's exactly like this.
And they go to the bar. They go to this bar to go recruit Wolverine, and Wolverine tells them to
screw off.
Yeah, screw off, and they walk out. And it's from one of the movies too. It wasn't even one of the better ones. I just happened to remember it because I thought that was a very Wolverine thing to do. I thought it was funny. Anyway, so very much like that. Like this guy's kind of just a jerk. Essentially, is the vibe, and so then these guys, they one of them kind of like leans in and like kind of whispers something to him, and then like has something in his hand that he shows under the counter, and the guy glances down at some kind of like medallion or badge, and then like they motion for him to come step outside. Which first off, you don't go with someone that asks you to go outside of a bar, otherwise you'll get mugged. But this guy goes outside with him, and they kind of talk, they kind of argue for a minute, and then finally they leave, and he goes back inside the bar. That's the end of that scene. Next scene he's going in
You're
going
in a garage.
to his apartment. He's
Oh,
going
right.
upstairs.
My bad. Yeah, I jumped ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
And he's about to go into his apartment, and as he's unlocking and opening the door, very typical scene or whatever, someone just like conks him over the head and takes him away. And so I went it to be very kind of dark, kind of dramatic. And the next scene opens up, completely different light, kind of happier, whatever, music playing in the background, cut my life into... I'm sorry, cut reference that. Go listen to that episode where we talk about that. It's like a mechanic shop or whatever. There's this guy welding, working on some kind of car, and this gal walks up, and he takes off his welding masks, puts the stuff down, and she's pulling out these documents in this folder and hands it to him. And he takes the folder, looks at it, and it has pictures of the guy from the previous night that was kidnapped or whatever. And they're like very much like, they're like mug shots and like very much some kind of criminal thing. Like, and so this guy, this kid asks what's wrong, like did something happen to him? And I wrote down some dialogue, I don't remember what it was, but then the gal essentially tells him, it's like, no.
He said what happened to him. Is he alright? The girl's name is Sally Jones, says, we've been keeping tabs on him since the incident, but he seems to have slipped our radar. Joel answers back, where was he last seen? She says he was last seen at, where he usually is every night, and he says, so his usual bar. And then that's the last one.
So, anyway, so thanks. This kid's name is Joel Himmel, and the gal's name is Sally Jones. Anyway, and so Joel is seeming very concerned about this guy that he somehow knows, and it refers to some kind of incident. And kind of jumping forward a little bit, Joel goes, this gal works for some kind of agency, and Joel goes to work for them undercover. And essentially the overarching plot is it's about like this group of street fighters and like kind of just thugs and stuff. And the original guy from the bar's name is Chuck, and Chuck is Joel's father. And Chuck was like the leader of this top dog gang, band of thugs and all that. And Chuck's brother, Richard, was a rogue drug dealer. He wasn't in any kind of gang or anything. Him and his brother, it's not that they didn't get along, but they just stayed off each other's backs. They didn't work, Chuck was even though he was a thug, he was not into drugs at all. Like he was very much like him and his brother weren't on the same page about that, so they just kind of stayed away from each other. But Richard starts selling drugs to Chuck's gang. They get into a fight, and it turns into this whole big thing. Chuck gets arrested, and somehow the blame gets shifted on him for being the drug dealer. Then during his trial, he's given the opportunity to tell where his brother is, where his gang is, and all that. And so he gets into the witness protection program, and that's why he's like drinking and all that because he's very depressed. And Joel doesn't really know his father because during all this, Joel's mother, Kate, takes him away to a different town and all that. And this very much is going to focus on Joel as the main character. And so Joel goes undercover to try and find his father, who's been kidnapped by other members of... I don't want to say other members of that particular gang, but of like gangsters, mobsters. I guess not mobsters, but these thugs. And kind of one of the things that I kind of want, because you're very much into characters or whatever, I want Joel to be kind of like a Casey Jones type of character from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I've always thought his character was really cool. Kind of like a superhero character, but kind of silly. Like Casey Jones has like the whole ski mask and baseball bat. Kind kind of that character, maybe mixed kind of like with Kevin from Ben 10.
Okay.
Very
Got you.
much just, and so I want it to be kind of not heroic at all, but he is like, he's very much kind of the hero of the story. And he kind of becomes like this neighborhood hero or whatever, who's like, goes around fighting these gangs, and the overarching plot is for him to find his father. Now,
So is he joining a gang? I mean, fighting other gangs and trying to get information. Okay, I'm sorry. I
essentially,
understand
because
now.
essentially the whole plot is like these gang wars. It's like a Street Fighter-esque.
Like the video game Hadouken.
Yeah. But yeah, very much like a Street Fighter-esque thing, and like, you know, there's like turf wars and all that, and so he starts getting into all that.
Cool. So one thing you talked about in like the notes you sent me and stuff was like you wanted to like talk about and hash out some of the relationship between Joel and Chuck
Yeah.
and stuff. What narrative device do you want to show that? So like if most of the season or show or whatever it is, they're not going to be around each other per se. You know what I mean? Like he's looking
Yeah.
for him. Is it going to be told through flashback, or are we going to get like a lot of like them talking to other characters about their past? So get kind of two different perspectives, or
a little bit of both. Like I want some flashbacks to kind of show like flashbacks about like, you know, his mother taking him to another town and all that, and like some flashbacks about kind of his father and when his father was in this whole Street Fighter gang scene, kind of flashbacking to that. But then also, like, imagine, I kind of thought of it as like a comic book, but maybe like a cartoon or something. Like imagine Joel talking with one of his friends or talking with someone, and like it flashes back, and it flashes back, but he's kind of narrating it, and then it comes back to reality, and then he kind of like discusses what, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm kind of, I don't know if I'm explaining that
know,
right, but there's like a flashback, and then it shows him like actually talking about it, so it kind of gets.
Yeah, I understand. So it's like when in a lot of movies or anything, or like they'll start to tell a story, it kind of drifts out into the story taking place on screen,
Yeah.
and then drifts back to modern day with him kind of wrapping up like, oh, he was telling the story the whole time, but yeah, I got you. No, that's like, okay, so do we want, or I guess you, not we, do you want
Or I mean, we're hashing this out, you know, so it's like.
Joel, so a love-hate relationship. So, like, I think it'd be neat. I'm assuming if your dad's in a gang, and obviously you reference possibly an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Not the best dad all the time, but, like, a love-hate relationship. So, like, do we want to, like, talk about how, like, a lot of benefits that he's gotten? So, like, let's say, like, his dad also, like, knew how to fix things.
Yeah.
Per se. So, like, he the fact that he dropped out of high school but can still work as a mechanic.
Yeah, and like he knows how to,
He knows how to fight.
He knows how to fight. That was what I was getting. Like he's getting into like these gangs and stuff. His dad taught him how.
Yeah.
How to fight, how to be very, kind of like, you know, in Psych when Henry is teaching his kid like some of the stuff, you know, kind of like that, where like he teaches his kid and then challenges his kid, like, okay, like, you know,
Stop
for
stop.
yeah, kind of like that, or stop for a second. It's like, okay, if someone were to come up from behind, what would you do? That kind of thing. Very much kind of taught him how to kind of survive.
So essentially, what you're saying is this is again another heartwarming story about a father and a son kind of realizing that like they both could have been better and wanted the other person to be something different. Because at least what I'm kind of envisioning and understanding is like over time throughout the story,
inherit his leadership.
He inherits his dad's leadership skills, but like it's like his dad wasn't a good dad in the sense that his dad was a criminal, his dad was an alcoholic, but his dad showed the fact that he cared for his son. But he's like, I made sure you could defend yourself. I made sure you had the skills you needed for life and things. So in a way, his dad was trying to show that he cared the whole time.
Yeah, it was more
but
of
to
like
a little kid.
He was more of like not so much a father or a dad to his kid, but like he was this leader of this gang. He was essentially like he was in charge of what he said was law. Everyone respect, and he wanted his kid to take over the family business, so to speak, you know, and they were thugs and thieves and all that. He wanted his kid to take over that leadership role, and he was preparing him and grooming him for that. Not so much like he didn't go out in the backyard and play catch with him, but he taught him how to be a leader and how to fight and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and like so that's what I'm saying. So it's like
yeah.
he did try to show that he cared about his kid and he loved his kid, but in a way that is weird and different.
Mm-hmm.
For like not necessarily what your 10-year-old son needs. Your 10-year-old son doesn't necessarily need you to teach like how to inspire fear in somebody you're trying to like manipulate into doing something for you, as much as I don't know, play catch, like listen to his problems or something.
Yeah.
But and then we kind of see, I think, so like it'd be kind of fun to see like as Chuck's kidnapped and kind of, I don't know, being interrogated or whatever, and he's held captive or whatever. If we see kind of flashbacks from him realizing like I was a bad dad, like I didn't do these things and stuff, and we kind of see both of them realize like that they're both sort of in the wrong. He's like, I could have realized my dad was trying, and it wasn't the best way he could have tried, and he wasn't great at it, but he was trying. It wasn't what I wanted, but he still, that was the best he could do, per se. And him realizing, like, I freaking tried to teach my son how to be a criminal from a young age, like, that's, what the heck.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like a tale, of a father and a son realizing that they're both sort of in the wrong and kind of coming together with lots of punches and kicks and baseball bats.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a really fun thing to watch or read. This would be a
Oh,
great comic book. Heck yeah.
But I really want it to be like Joel is very much this like hero of this, you know. It is like got that emotional side, but it's because of that that's kind of like inspiring him to then go out and then like not so much like his father wanted him to be a leader of these gangs and stuff, but now that his father isn't, that like he's kind of almost doing the opposite of that.
But using the skills.
But using those skills and like, you know, trying to take down these like how about this? Like his father was into like this whole street fighting gangs scene and they were thieves and all that, but they didn't do drugs, since his leadership fell, it's very much like a drug lord scene. And that's what Joel's trying to take down. Is trying to take down these like drug lords and all that, and you know, these gangs that are out of hand, so to speak.
So sort of like an honor among thieves-esque thing, to where there is a movie based on a comic book called Batman Under the Red Hood, and like long story short, essentially the Red Hood is a criminal who thinks that like Batman is wrong in the way that Batman tries to help the city, so he helps the city differently. So he's like goes and meets with all the drug lords. He's like, you can still deal drugs and stuff, but he's like, stay away from kids. Like, don't go to high schools and pump like high schools full of drugs. He's like, give kids a fair shot. Like, don't try to get them hooked young. Let them try to finish their education, and then if they make the choice as an adult to go get into drugs, sell them to them, whatever. But kind of like a screwed up sense of morality. Yeah. But a sense of morality nonetheless.
Yep.
Got you. That's neat. So like, would it sort of? Are you gonna play around with like the idea? So he's going and sort of fighting other things, and are you going to deal with like as he fights and works his way through fighting and trying to figure out where his dad is? These other gangs, is he going to like realize that he's sort of inadvertently giving the gang that he's undercover for a lot more control over the city?
Yeah, like I kind of wanted him to kind of work up, like he kind of works up in leadership as he's undercover, as he's fighting these gangs, but he's also leading whatever, like he's kind of undercover in this gang. He kind of starts to move up the ranks, and becomes, like, he has kind of two identities, you know. He kind of works up the ranks and becomes like this leader, like his father was among these gangs, his and other gangs and all that. But he's also, his other identity is fighting the gangs that get out of hand, kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Got you. So he's undercover to get information, and he's not so much like undercover. Okay, so I was understanding it as like he would go undercover as a gang and then go with that gang and a group of other gang members fight another gang. But it's more like he's undercover as that gang to get information, and then sort of at nighttime or when he's not with that gang, puts on a Casey Jones mask or whatever, and then goes and beats the mess out of. Got you. Okay.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I understood that wrong. Yeah, that's really so. Are you gonna deal like is he going to have to do morally gray to like bad things to work his way up in the gang?
Yeah, I kind of thought of that too, and I was thinking like, because they rob places and all that. That's how they make their money and all that. So he's gonna have to do stuff like that. But he's gonna, they're gonna want to kill someone, and he's gonna have trouble with that type of thing, and that it might, cause fights.
Is he have to murder somebody?
I haven't determined that yet. If he's gonna be a killer or not. I haven't determined that.
This is interesting stuff, though.
Yeah, and then I kind of want this whole Sally Jones character to be kind of like the good half of this. So like when he's like kind of on his undercover side or whatever, or like when he puts on his mask and fights it, like she knows kind of what he does, but I don't want her to turn into like a girlfriend, so to speak.
She's the Rachel Dawes to his Bruce Wayne, but not in the romantic way.
Kind of, yeah.
To where she's like, or I guess like to actually a better appropriation would be like the Jim Gordon to his Batman. Like, I do everything by the book and everything, but I also recognize and understand the need for you to go be a vigilante and do this.
Yeah, like she makes sure that he doesn't get too much into a vigilante. Like he still like abides by the law.
A law-esque.
Yeah, law-esque kind of. Kind of keeps him in check. And then I don't know like if he wants to have some kind of best friend or not. Like have like another.
What's the sitch?
My phone was not on silence.
Call me, beat me, if you wanna reach me. Doesn't matter when, doesn't matter when.
Okay, that was a nice interruption. Anyway,
okay, sorry, go ahead.
So, like, what would you say as far as him having, like a best friend? But, like, what would your thoughts be on that? Like, should he have, like, a friend who's, like, maybe he befriends someone who's in the gang as well, and his friend's a little bit more immoral than he is because he doesn't do all the...
And if we're going to do Batman allegories, then we can be like, that's the Harvey Bullock of the team.
Okay.
Like, and that, like, makes sense. It works really well narratively. Because, like, you have three people who are all on the side of doing the right thing-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And you have one person inside the system willing to break the rules to do what it has to be done. One person who abides by all of the rules. So if you put it in, like, D&D terms, you have, like, a lawful good, a sort of chaotic, and then like, or chaotic good, and then like a very like different way chaotic good.
Like, so like his friend would kind of like Joel, maybe because he is that whole morally gray thing, like he doesn't necessarily want to kill someone, and instead of blowing his cover, somehow this guy that he befriends kind of has his back and like steps up and kills the person and kind of just, if you get what I'm saying, kind of and, like and has his back and does the things that he can't do, but lets everyone think that Joel's the one that did that.
Which is like, there's like a really cool moment, I think, where like, I think it's in an X-Men movie or TV show episode where like, I think Cyclops is like yelling at like Professor X about like Wolverine being, he's like, we have like a murderous psychopath on our team or whatever, and like he's like, what is that about? And like Professor X essentially like, he's like, Wolverine's on the team because like Wolverine's here to do the things that like you can't, Scott. Like when we need to murder like there might be a point in time when we need to just murder somebody, and like you're a goody two shoes like Boy Scout, like you can't do that, Scott.
Yeah.
He can. Like
yeah, very much like that.
And it's like a really dark kind of sad role, but it's like a role that, especially in storytelling, is really sometimes necessary and cool to have and fun to play around with.
Yeah, because I mean, there's gonna have to be some of that. You know, I want it to be a world very much like, not that it's okay to just go and kill people, but for Like,
And we're all
so
speaking
a good
in moral relativism.
a good example would be like, in the Marvel universe, if you go and just murder someone, it's pretty much bad. But like in the DC, like using another Batman thing, like Batman kills and stuff, but it's for the greater good. It's much more for like a greater good type of thing.
Batman doesn't kill. Yeah.
I guess he doesn't kill, but
Yeah, but no, I got you. It's like
yeah.
I mean, it is all moral relativism because like we're supposed to follow the law, and technically being a vigilante is like a criminal, like it's like a crime. So like by nature of like the things we believe, that's not what we should do. So we're speaking with a grain of salt, and in the world that we're creating, what is right and wrong, rather than our actual world. Because like we can all agree that whether you're trying to be undercover and work your way up a gang or not, letting somebody, whether you pull the trigger or not, if you stand there and have the Spider-Man rules, if you have the ability to help or do the right thing, you have the moral obligation to then do so.
Yeah.
So like watching somebody kill somebody is always wrong, but in the world we're creating, it might not be as wrong or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so we have to do everything with a grain of salt to tell stories essentially. But yeah, I got you.
But yeah, that's essentially my pitch.
That's really neat. That was fun.
I think it'd be a fun comic book to write.
I think it
Just
would
'cause
be
it's got
very
the-
fun to read.
Yeah, it would just because it has like the whole fighting aspect, but it also has that emotional, kind of that emotional and the flashbacks and stuff.
There's a lot of like cool narrative devices that you can like do
Like
with flashbacks and stuff.
Yeah, like I started reading the Captain America,
Winter Soldier.
not Winter Soldier. That's the one I have read. The Prisoner of War,
Okay.
and that's very much like that. Where like there's a lot of flashbacks, and there's the fighting, but there's the very emotional side of it. And so anyway, I just think that'd be a fun comic book to write or read,
That's really neat. But
or a cartoon. It could be a cartoon, which would be cool.
cartoons are so good sometimes.
Yeah,
Like good, well-made, good cartoons are
I would
phenomenal.
love to know how to make, like, to learn how to like just do cartoons and make, like, take all these ideas that we come up with and like make cartoons out of them. Or at least some of them. I think it'd be cool.
Well, Ian,
That's my pitch.
suppose we have to wrap up the show now.
We should.
This has been Let Me Pitch This to You. Thanks
Yeah.
for watching. First of all, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, reach out. Our
Find us on
email.
social media.
Yeah, email letmepitchthistoyou@gmail.com. Let us know what you think
Yep.
of the show. If you have an idea for a grab bag episode, send it in
Send
there.
it in, yeah.
If you just want to reach out, give us constructive criticism.
Which we did get a couple new comments. We got a comment from someone
Nice.
on an episode. Like it was just the other day. I saw it's like, oh, we got a new comment. So thanks for just
Yeah, like
kind of reaching out about the episode. We
reach
got a
out,
couple
talk
new
about it.
subscribers.
Thank you, Tim Schoenfeld, for letting us use the theme song Footy Pajamas.
Yep.
And I guess just be on the lookout. I promise we'll eventually get our crap together and consistently get out all the shows and everything.
Which would help if you go to Patreon and support us in the
This is
show.
money.
I'm gonna do finger guns. I'm just gonna keep doing finger guns.
No,
So-
I was going to do this great bit where I dabbed anyway, but I'm ready.
All right, ready?
My mom's...
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
When others are trapped in their beds, that's when I am free. Thanks to footy pajamas. Footy pajamas. Footy pajamas.